Chapter 1. The Man in the Shadows. The hot and humid air of Tel Aviv was mixed with the sounds of honking horns, echoing through the alleyways. The sun was about to set, but the city was still lively. People were shopping, children licking ice cream, and youths laughing as they roamed the streets. But amidst this hustle and bustle, a man leaned silently against an old bench on the corner of a street, quietly watching the people. His name was Amir. With his dirty beard, sunburnt skin, and torn clothes, he was exactly one of those whom society ignored. He spent his days scavenging food from the trash, and his nights sleeping on park benches. He had lost hope in life. Once he had a home, a job, and a family. But war, debts, and misfortunes had brought him here. Now his only companion was an old bag in his hand, holding a few memories. He hoped that one day everything would change, but he had almost forgotten how to hope. Until that day came. Chapter 2. Not a coincidence, but fate. That day, Tel Aviv was hosting an unusual crowd. High-level guests from Qatar were in the city for a major economic summit. Hotels were full, streets surrounded by security personnel. Everyone's eyes were on this visit. But Amir was unaware of all this. His only concern was to find something to eat for dinner. Meanwhile, another prominent figure in the city was Benjamin Netanyahu, one of Israel's most well-known political leaders. While walking toward the port area, he left his security behind and suddenly his eyes caught Amir, who was crouched on the corner. Amir was tearing an old newspaper to wrap around his toes. Netanyahu paused for a moment, then walked toward him. His guards watched in surprise. "Hello," Netanyahu said softly. Amir looked up, squinting at first, then recognizing who he was facing. Surprised, he stood up. "I don't want anything, I'm just here," he said hesitantly. Netanyahu nodded. "I know you don't want anything, but maybe I could buy you a coffee." Amir, seeing the genuine kindness in Netanyahu's eyes, nodded slightly. The two walked to a nearby cafe. People began whispering as they noticed, but Netanyahu ignored them. When the coffees arrived, Netanyahu started talking. "What's your name?" "Amir," the man said, holding his cup. "I used to be a teacher. Now, I have nothing." Netanyahu nodded silently. Every person has a story. Sometimes the darkest stories turn into the most hopeful endings. Chapter 3. In the Shadow of the Past. That hour spent in the cafe broke years of silence for Amir. He told Netanyahu his life story. How he used to teach in a small village near the Gaza border, lost his home in the war, fell into debt, and ended up on the streets. His eyes filled with tears as he spoke. Netanyahu listened carefully, without interrupting. He took a sip of his coffee and nodded. "People like you are the true face of this country, Amir. Unfortunately, most times, people like you become invisible. But today, your voice will be heard." Amir didn't fully understand these words but thanked him. Deep inside, he thought this conversation was just a brief act of kindness. Like everyone who didn't know him, he thought Netanyahu would forget him in a few hours. But he was wrong. The next day, Netanyahu began researching Amir's background, his past, family, employment records, and teaching history. The more he learned, the more impressed he became. Amir was genuinely honest and hardworking, just battered by life's hardships. That night, Netanyahu spoke about Amir at a dinner with guests from Qatar. "There's a man in the city whose story moved me deeply," he said. "I want to help him, not with just food or clothes, but to give him a new life." One guest, the Amir's brother, listened intently. "How do you plan to help?" Netanyahu's eyes gleamed. "I will buy a villa in Qatar for him. A fresh start, a brand new life." The table fell silent, then someone said, "That would be a grand gesture." Another added, "But why?" Netanyahu replied, "Because he is one of millions whom society forgets. But if change begins for even one person, there is hope for the world." Chapter 4. The Door in Qatar. The plane landed in Doha, Qatar's capital, slowly moving down the runway under the warm night air. Amir looked out of the window, still unsure if it was real. Dressed in a clean suit, holding his passport, and accompanied by Netanyahu. Amir's life had completely changed within days. Once a homeless man sleeping on the streets of Israel, Now he was being flown to one of the richest countries in the Gulf on a private jet. They were picked up at the airport by one of Doha's most luxurious cars and headed to a private gated community in the northern part of the city. Along a palm tree-lined street with artificial waterfalls stood a massive white marble villa. Its large glass windows, golden doors, and flower-adorned garden made it look like a palace. Amir felt his knees tremble as he stepped forward. Netanyahu touched his shoulder. "This is your new home. This is your nest now." Amir couldn't believe his eyes. Inside, the spacious living room was filled with crystal chandeliers, leather sofas, and modern art pieces. Everything was luxurious. When he saw the kitchen, he whispered to himself, "Is this a hotel?" Netanyahu smiled. "No, Amir, this is your life now." As he walked inside the villa, Amir thought about his past, digging through trash, shivering under street lamps at night. Now, he was barefoot on marble floors. But this change wasn't just physical. A seed of hope had blossomed within him. Maybe he still mattered. Maybe there was still meaning in this world. Chapter 5. The first day in the luxurious villa. Amir woke up to the soft chirping of birds and the gentle light filtering through the large windows of the villa. For the first time in years, he felt the comfort of clean sheets and a warm room. But with the luxury came an overwhelming feeling. Was this real? Could life truly change so drastically? That morning, Netanyahu showed him around the villa. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, spacious rooms, and a grand piano in the corner. Amir touched the keys hesitantly and began to play an old Arabic melody. It was a moment that symbolized a new beginning. Later, Amir received official documents registering the villa in his name. Bank accounts, passport renewals, and legal papers were all arranged. Netanyahu watched silently from a corner, approving every step. Amir was no longer just a homeless man. He had a home, a future, and a new identity in Qatar. Yet, despite the luxury, Amir faced a haunting question one morning as he looked in the mirror. Who am I really? Netanyahu, boarding his plane to return, turned to his advisor and said, "The story doesn't end here. This is only the beginning." Chapter 6. Questions rising in the shadow of the villa. As the morning sun filtered softly through the windows of the villa in Qatar, Amir awoke to a new reality. Birds chirped outside, and for the first time, he was greeted by peace and comfort rather than cold streets and uncertainty. Yet, amidst the luxury, doubts gnawed at him. Was it really this easy? Would a stranger truly give away such wealth? As Amir wandered through the grand halls, adorned with priceless artworks and Persian carpets, his eyes searched for answers in the silent walls around him. That morning, a letter awaited him at the breakfast table. His hand trembled as he opened it and read the words. "Dear Amir, this villa is not just four walls. It is a test. A chance for you to rise from where life pushed you down and start anew. Take what you find inside, but choose carefully what you carry out. B." No signature, but Amir sensed that B stood for Benjamin. Later that day, security personnel arrived, informing Amir of an invitation to an important reception in Doha. Amir was hesitant. He had never worn a suit before, let alone attended such an event. A tailor was sent to measure him, and for the first time, Amir saw a well-dressed reflection in the mirror, clean-shaven, groomed, and dignified. At the reception, Netanyahu greeted him warmly. Cameras flashed as they entered together. The world would soon see these images, Netanyahu with a suited man, smiling and speaking. Social media buzzed with speculation. Netanyahu brings homeless man to Qatar's luxury reception. Who is this man? The Prime Minister's new advisor. What message is Netanyahu sending to his business partners? While some saw it as a PR move, others noticed a change in Netanyahu's character. But the real story was between Amir and Benjamin. Chapter 7. The Echoes of the Past. One day at the villa, a surprise visitor shook Amir's newfound peace. The air was warm, and the sky was clear as Amir looked out through the glass doors to the garden. Standing outside was a man he hadn't seen in years, his brother, Eli. Eli had left the family long ago and was partly responsible for the hardships Amir endured. Now, dressed in a suit and arriving in a luxury car. He stood at the villa's entrance. Security allowed him in by special permission from Netanyahu. With trembling hands, Amir opened the door. Eli's eyes were filled with regret. "I saw you on the news," he said quietly. "I am deeply sorry for what I did. If you let me, I want to talk." Amir was silent for a moment, then nodded and invited him inside. As they sat, years of pain and sorrow spilled out in tears and words. Eli explained the reasons behind his departure after their mother's death. Amir's eyes held both anger and compassion. Netanyahu watched quietly from the kitchen, waiting to see what Amir would decide. The villa had become more than just wealth. It was a place of healing. Eli begged for forgiveness. "I can't give you back your life, but I want to make things right." Amir thought for a while. "I'm not fully ready to forgive, but this villa gave me a second chance. Maybe you deserve one too," he said. That evening, the three sat down to dinner together, the first time. Amir shared a meal with his brother in years. From a distance, Netanyahu observed and realized that his act of kindness had not only changed one life but had reunited a broken family. Over the week, Eli spent time with Amir in the villa. They talked about their childhood, their past wounds, and Eli's desire to build a new life and repair their relationship. Deeply moved, Netanyahu offered Eli support. "If you want to start a new life in Qatar, I can guide you." Eli, wiping tears, thanked him. "I came here only to apologize, but I found hope." Alone on the villa's balcony, Amir gazed at the stars and murmured, "Who would have thought one man's kindness could change not one, but 3 lives?" Chapter 8. A New Beginning. The sun was rising over the villa in Qatar, casting golden light through the glass walls and illuminating every corner with a warm glow. Amir stood on the balcony, overwhelmed by the journey that had brought him from the streets to this luxurious home overlooking the sea. But today was different. After a long talk with Netanyahu, Amir had decided that he no longer wanted to be just a recipient of help. He wanted to become a giver. Inspired and determined, he planned to start a foundation dedicated to helping the homeless, refugees, and the poor across the Middle East, providing shelter, education, and job opportunities. In the grand conference room of the villa, dozens of guests gathered to hear Amir's announcement. Speaking into the microphone, Amir said, "I have lived a miracle, but this miracle is not mine alone. I want to share it with thousands, to show the world that we are not alone, and that love and compassion can change everything." The audience erupted into applause. Netanyahu sat in the front row, tears in his eyes, proud to witness Amir's transformation. Reporters from Qatar, Israel, Europe, and beyond asked Amir many questions. The most frequent was, "How has this change affected you?" Amir answered, "Life has taught me that even the darkest moments are temporary. All it takes is one helping hand. Netanyahu didn't just give me money or a home, he gave me back my humanity, my hope, my dignity. Now it's my turn. I will reach out to others." The next day, headlines worldwide declared, "From homeless man to foundation leader, a Qatar miracle." Man transformed by Netanyahu's touch, now a beacon of hope. On social media, Amir's speech was viewed millions of times, shared with tears and inspiration. Many said his story should be made into a film. That evening, Netanyahu and Amir walked together in the villa's garden as the sun set. The sky turned pink, the sea calm and endless. "Amir," Netanyahu said softly, "I bought you this villa because I believed in you. But the real miracle was inside you all along. You've made sure everyone sees it. I am proud." Amir bowed his head, eyes moist. "Thank you for believing in me. I won't waste this life." They stood quietly, watching the stars appear in the vast sky. Some moments speak louder than words.